All right, you all. I am trying out this mic. I got a mic for my iPhone so I could kind of stand back, or if I'm out and about, so I could have something. I know you all think I never leave my apartment. I promise you I do. I do leave my apartment. I go to work. I do get out of my apartment. It's just sometimes it's easier to do everything at home. But I'm going to try to get out a little bit more and record while I'm out, just kind of share different things, kind of mix it up a little bit. Anyway, I am rambling today. I wanted to talk about my time in college. And I laugh because I went to Tennessee State University, HBCU in the house. Okay. Um, my years at Tennessee State were interesting and fun. I learned so much being there, having the chance to interact with so many different people from so many different walks of life. If I had to do it all over again, I would not change it. There is one thing I would change, but mostly I wouldn't change anything about it. When I left home, and I'm laughing because you all have to understand, I was a nerd. I was a bookworm. Anything I wanted to know, I would read about it. I loved books. One of my favorite books growing up was To Kill a Mockingbird. Read that. I just love to read. And we get lost in books. And you know, it just was a great escape for me. The town I'm from, it to me was small. And I wanted to see so much more of the world. I wanted to do things. I wanted to go somewhere. When I first got ready to graduate from college, I honestly thought about skipping college and just traveling and going overseas and doing something else. But because of family and everything and trying to be responsible, and I always do that in air quotes because responsibility to me is subjective. Um, but I left, I applied for college, and the first college I applied to was called Memphis State University back then. And I applied and I got a partial scholarship. But honestly, my family didn't have any money to send us to college. And no one had really been. And if they had, I didn't know anybody. So this was new territory for my side of the family. I applied to the second school, which was Tennessee State University, and I did get I got a scholarship to go because we didn't have no money, and went to college, packed my trunk, a lot of things that we knew to do that I had to find out, talk to other people, but had the trunk, packed my things in there, and I got there. My mom and my uncle took me, dropped me off. We cleaned the room, did whatever. My roommate, I won't say her name. I'll call her B. And if she ever sees this video, she'll know who I'm talking about. B, when I tell you I was blessed to have a good roommate, I was blessed to have a good roommate. Was in the dormitory, and she, talked about cleaning and all these other kind of, she things to expect, what to look for. Just gave me. She didn't realize that. I don't think she realized how much she helped me, and I watched her a lot through things and getting to know things. We honestly, we may have had a couple of head bumps, but other than that, not anything serious. So we made it through the first, she was my roommate for the whole first year as a freshman. During my freshman year, got to know different people, got involved in different things. And I can't remember if it was my freshman year, but I joined the Thomas Edward Pogue uh, Theater Guild for actors. It was my first time learning about organizations. I think I had one other, but this was like big time. We were TE Pogue, and we would be across campus and do our call TE. So every now and then I have a post. If someone remembers me from the guild, they'll put TE in it, and that's what it means. We were actors. But I remember when we pledged, I can't remember for how long, instead of, it wasn't normal pledging. It was one day we had to dress like old people. One day we had to, it was different things we had to do, but it was all actor related. And I'm smiling because when I say those were some really good years, I learned a lot. Coming from a nerd to, I felt like somebody threw me out into the world. But that was my first pledging experience. And I did pledge a sorority, but I'm going to put that to the side because I don't really talk about that. Um, so, and that's only because I'm not active. Uh, I but enjoyed theater, and that's why I got how I got into acting. I had been acting since I was in the 6th grade, and I think I told you I got bit by the bug. But going back to Tennessee State, had a chance to run for an office, and I ran for my senior year, and I'm gonna go back. But I ran in my senior year. I ran to be president because there were so many things I wanted to do on campus for our class, and I got punked. Yep, I got punked. I'm not gonna lie because I felt like there was a young lady who wanted the position. And I don't know, I can't remember clearly, but she spread lies or she said things about me and it got back to me. And I just did not, I would try to do things and not her necessarily, but things kind of turned upside down. And I tried and tried and tried and tried and tried and tried and tried. So that was my exposure to public office. Have not, never wanted to be a politician. Yes, I have a lot of political views, but those don't matter. So let's move on. so, uh, but that is my time at Tennessee State. I won't say it was a culture shock, but it was a different environment. I remember going to y'all. Can I tell you the crazy stuff me and my friends did? I had a clique, and we called ourselves the Awesome Throsome. There were 5 of us. You got a one some, two some, three some, four some. So it wasn't a five some. It was 5 of us, and we Awesome Throsome, and we were really, really close. We were really close back then, and I we would hang out, and I remember one of them, I'll call her M, where we would go to the parking lot of the dormitory to see who was going to the Q party. And our crazy behinds, and let me just put the warning up. Do not ever, ever, ever do this. One more time. Do not ever, 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 ever do this. But we would catch a ride to the party and we would catch a ride home. And it's not, we were blessed that and favored because anything could have happened. We would go, but we would have a good time. Never felt threatened, never felt like anything would go wrong at the parties. Had a really good time, laugh and talk with people we didn't know. And we went to other parties too that were on campus and off campus, but it was my exposure to something different. I barely went to my high school prom. So I'm gonna go back. Just let you know, I barely went to my high school prom. My high school was, I got up, went to school, whatever. I worked at McDonald's. That was my first job, if you don't count babysitting my brother and my sister. Um, and I had one really good friend in high school, and we're still, friends to this day. But she was the only person my mother felt safe enough allowing me to spend the night with, hang out with. It was just a good experience with, trustworthy. Her parents were trustworthy. But fast forwarding, barely went to my prom. I did go. It was last minute. Um, had a good time. Nothing to write home about. Went home. My mother had a certain curfew for me to come home. I was home probably an hour before. I feel bad for this guy after I thought about it years later. It's like, girl, that poor guy. He could have gone with somebody better. But that's all me. So we're gonna leave that there. But got to college, I was like, wow, look at here, look at here. Um, so that's where I was in college, eyes wide open, because I didn't realize this was out here. I just didn't know. That was my biggest exposure to the world. Oh, I'm sorry. I did have one other girlfriend that I hung out before I went to college that I had was like a sister to me. But moving forward, she went to another college, and I went to Tennessee State. But just great experience. The male friends I had, and we hung around, felt safe with them, didn't worry about any inappropriateness. I had a really good experience. And that's why I say I am so glad that I had the opportunity to go to Tennessee State University. I'm so glad I had the opportunity to meet the people I did. They really helped open my mind to a lot of things and the possibilities. When I left home, I really thought there was nothing that I could not do. I have always been a taker to step out there and try new things. Going to Tennessee State, I don't remember being scared. Um, I will tell you this funny story though. Because my mother was a disciplinarian, I didn't get, it wasn't like she beat us or anything like that, but my mother, her rules were her rules. And she had this demeanor about her. It was like, look, I said it. This is what it is. This is what we're doing. Now, I abided by the rules, but I remember my hair had grown out and I got to college and I saw a picture of Anita Baker, big Anita Baker fan, sing her songs all the time. Maybe I'll give you a tune at the end. No, it's okay. So I remember wanting to get my hair cut. Remember, she had the shave in the back and the loop and all this kind of stuff. And I was so scared to cut my hair because I was like, my mother would kill me if I cut my hair off. So I called my mother. So let me back up. Hold on. When I left high school, and I hope my mom doesn't mind me telling this, but when I got ready to leave high school and go to college, my mother sat me down and said, look, you are grown. You're grown. You're grown to make your own decisions. You're going off to college. Make your own decisions. But when you have a mom who has made sure you toed the line, and then you go to college and it's like, I'm grown for real? Let me try that. So I remember calling her and saying, hey, mama, I want to cut my hair. And I told her how I wanted to get it cut and everything. I want to get it cut short. Would that be okay? I'm a freshman in college. And my mother said to me, she said, you're grown. If you want to cut your hair, then you cut your hair. And it was one of those moments on the phone. You're like, and that was the pause. I was like, is she serious? So what did I do? I went and got my hair cut. And everybody thought I was so cute. It was an adjustment for me. But as you can see, I went from here to here recently. But just good experiences, learning to be an adult, learning to trust people, learning how to trust people. I think, I'm just grateful to God that He put people around me who were a lot smarter than me, who had more knowledge than me, who were more wise than me. Because I tell you, I was like a deer in the headlights, just like, wow. But I know not everybody had the college experience I had, but it was interesting. There are some stories I wish I could tell. Even in pledging the sorority and becoming a member, the things you saw, the things that happened, just it was something. But I would do it all over again, except maybe one thing I might do different. And I know you're like, what is that one thing, Celeste? What would you do? Um, and I pray he never sees this video, but there was a guy, we were really close in college. And sometimes I wonder what if. And I'll leave it there. We never hooked up or anything like that. We were just really good friends. So, but that's on me. That's not on him. So please, I hope he never ever sees this video. That's my prayer right now. But that was it. But other than that, great guy. But my experience was really good. It was a healthy environment for me. I know different people had different experiences. Some were not good, but I just felt like, I was fortunate. I was definitely fortunate. All right, I just want to tell a good story, tell about a good part of my life, which was my 4 years at Tennessee State University. And I'm just thinking about the theater I did there. Oh, okay, let me tell you this one thing, and then I'm going to really go. Because I am going in 15 minutes. Okay, so I'm going to tell you, because I try not to talk about it, but I will never forget. I was active in theater when I was in college as well, and did radio. I was in for broadcasting and journalism and theater. And I was in a play called Every Man. And I had to be out at the beginning of the play, and I would lay behind this rock. And my co-star, we'll call him, I can say Jeff. It doesn't matter if he says, but anyway. So Jeff had his part, and he did all his walking and talking. I remember, and I don't know if this all happened in one night, but I think it ran like 4 nights in, or like a Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday on college campus. But I remember one night I fell asleep behind there because I'm behind the rock and I'm waiting like 30 minutes before my first line. And my first line was, I sent up, "Here I lie." So, and the rest of it. And that was my line. I would sit and say, "Here I lie." And so one night I fell asleep and I didn't realize it. And I'm going to tell you, it is the grace of God that I woke up and heard his last line and was able to come in on cue. But one night, this is not like film. With film, if you forget a line, you can say, "Hey, line," and they give it to you. They can cut, they can put it together, they can redo it. No, theater is live, truly, before a live audience. And I remember walking around and doing our lines. Everything was going well. I don't know what happened, but I completely blanked out. So I'm walking around and I just stopped. And my mind said, "What is my line?" And Jeff is standing there and he's doing it. And I know, and this is when you know you got somebody good on stage with you. And that's why it's always great. And I've always practiced knowing everybody's lines, not even knowing my own. But he realized, because he probably saw the fear in my eyes and heard my heart thumping and saw that, and he immediately stepped in and he picked up my next line, and I knew exactly where I needed to go. Yeah. So that's my theater experience, but I loved theater. Doc, who was there, oh my gosh. I prefer, Kirk, I think. Anyway, he was such a good director, a good theater director. Loved working with him. That's why I say I'm glad I went to Tennessee State University. I'm glad I had the experience I did. I'm glad I met the people I met. I'm not friends with, I don't have contact with, a lot of people there, but a lot of people still remembered me when I went back many, many years ago. I was a resident assistant. The first year, I only had one roommate while I was there, and that was B. And the next year, I was an RA. I hope nobody tells the stories about when I was an RA. I wasn't a bad RA, but I was an RA. B was an RA our sophomore and junior year. And then I became head RA for the whole building, not just my floor, my senior year. And I just count that as a blessing to know that someone trusted me to be head RA. And being RA was great because you had your own room. As head RA, it was almost like a suite, and it was only me. And it was great. It was wonderful. But I'm grateful again for the relationships and the experience that I received at Tennessee State University. I don't have any regrets. I believe that that's where I was meant to go. And it did so much for me. It opened my mind to a world of possibilities. And for me during that time, it also built my confidence. When I left there, my first job was in the DMV area. And I would find find a local theater there, and I auditioned and I did a part there. It was just absolutely wonderful. It just got me off to a good start. And it matured me in some ways. I still had some growing to do, I still had some learning to do, but it was a really good, let me change the words like Rachel Rogers says, and it was a very good experience that I look back on and I smile. Of course, it had its bumps along the way, but I smile. I smile. I do, I smile. So let me go and do this Anita Baker thing. Not that y'all really care, but I'm gonna do it anyway just because I brought it up. Okay. So my song that I used to do, I'm trying to think. It doesn't matter. I'll just do something. Okay. I don't know how this is gonna sound. Here we go. With all my heart, I love you, baby. Okay, that's all you're gonna get. I don't know how that sounds. This voice ain't what it used to be. But we be trying, we be trying. Okay, y'all. All right, y'all know who I am? I am Celestejona. Speak your truth. Live with transparency. You will see the triumph.